has struck 3 a.m. The witching hour has begun. Are you ready to be initiated into the Black Magic Coven? Join your sisters, Liz,
Kaleigh,
Andrea,
and Marisa,
as we meet to discuss the macabre, creepy, and sinister. We call upon the Four Corners to convene with Grila the Christmas Witch. So, ladies, today we're going to be talking about Grila, and I mean a few other people maybe that go along with Grila, but most importantly Grila, because as a coven, we prioritize our witches. So, have you guys heard of Grila before?
I have. When I was younger, a little bit, and because of some of like the traditions around Christmas. And then more so recently, I forget what season it was, but Sabrina, the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I remember her character from there.
Yeah, that's also what I remember her from as well. I didn't know much about her, but during that episode, I was curious and kind of looked up a little bit about her.
See, so I'm the only one that spaced during that episode. And, like, I remember the episode, but until we started like researching for the episode, I had no idea that that's who she was supposed to be, but I also had no idea who she was, and I'm kind of obsessed now.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
Yeah, she is pretty cool. So Grila is an Icelandic folktale that has been around since the 1600s. Grila lived in the mountains with her aging husband and 13 sons, which are the Yule lads, and then a giant black cat. Grila was hideous, and she was half ogre, half troll, and had hooves, horns, 15 tails, and not to mention the large warts on her nose. I do think that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say the 15 tails. What do you do with 15 tails?
I know.
Don't tails help with balance?
I guess you have a tail for each one of your family members, including yourself. So that's interesting.
That's true.
She could whip all of her sons at the same time.
Oh, God.
I don't know. I don't know why I thought of that, but I did. I just think it's funny because they describe her as this really hideous creature, but then most of the time in like a lot of the images, she isn't quite that hideous. Like,
right.
She
does horns.
Yeah. I mean, she just kind of looks like an old hag lady, you know, the typical witch. I mean, and by witch, I mean like fictional images of witches, obviously. Right. So, Grila was part of a poem that was told in Iceland and as part of the Icelandic folktale. And they describe her as a parasitic beggar who walks around asking parents to give their disobedient children to her.
I just can't stop imagining, you know, I'm sure all of you have experienced when you're in a store somewhere and there's a kid that's just losing their mind and you feel bad. The parents are like trying to get the kid to calm down, but they won't. I just imagine Grila like tapping a parent on the shoulder at like a grocery store. Hey, do you want me to take that kid off your hands?
Kaleigh, you are so sweet because you're like, I feel bad for the parent. And I'm like blaming the parent. I'm like, you need to get that little thing out of here and beat it or something.
I know. It's like, you're in public. I chosen not to have a child, and your child is just my shopping experience. So.
I feel bad because that just has to fucking suck.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, it would be horrible.
So
I
give
can't
Grila your kid.
Yeah, exactly. Her plans actually can be thwarted by giving her food or by chasing her away, which seems pretty easy. Like,
honestly, yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem that scary.
I love how they think that like the only things she wants are children and food. Like,
yeah.
Like, yes, this witchy woman. Like, these are how you can appease her. It's like.
Food or children.
I wonder how you
food and children.
I mean,
although
or run after her.
Technically, children are food, though, right? To her,
technically,
she just really wants food.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah.
Although I'm picturing like the Snow White hag, like in a lot of like the images, but then I'm like, no, half ogre, half troll, hooves and horns. I want to see like somebody needs. I don't know. Maybe I need to Google search better, but I'm not sure I'm going to chase that away. Be like, here, have whatever I'm eating and my children.
So originally, Grila lived in a small cottage with her family, but in later poems, she actually appears to have been forced out of town and moved into a faraway cave. So she's been exiled and pushed into this cave. But since Grila's family lived in the mountains in this cave, they didn't have a lot of dinner options. And so that's when she would send her sons, the Yule lads, into town, where they would snatch unruly children and bring them back to be cooked in a stew. So not only would she go out and beg for children, but then she'd also send her sons out to go snatch kids too. So there's many, I think basically what is with a lot of folklore, there's many different versions of the story. And so just depending on the version that you read or talk about, or that your family decided to adopt, you're gonna get a different way of like but the main thing is that Gryla eats kids, okay? Or Grila. I keep wanting to say Gryla, but I looked up the pronunciation. It is Grila.
Grila.
So she has the ability to detect children who are misbehaving year-round, which is very similar to, I feel like, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the Elf on a Shelf.
Yes.
I hate that shit.
I know. I hate it. He's horrible. My mom has one in her classroom, and she, like, this weekend, we went to IKEA, which I feel like, I don't know why, but that feels kind of relevant right now. I don't know. Icelandic stuff. I know Sweden, but whatever. But we went to IKEA so that she could get a glass jar to put her Elf on the Shelf in, because she was going to make him quarantine for 14 days, so she didn't have to do anything with him anymore.
That's hilarious. That's pretty genius, actually.
Yeah. So she got this like jar, and then she put like a little tiny chair in there, and like he's just like cozy in his little quarantine, and she put tape on it that says like "Do not open for 14 days." Or
That's a pretty clever way to get around moving him.
Exactly. So, but anyways, it just kind of reminds me of that, like this, like the American tame version of Grila is Elf on the Shelf, where like, because he's supposed to like report back to Santa on like if your kid is being good or not. That's part of like the Elf on the Shelf story.
Yeah, but he only watches you for like a month, so it's like, okay, so what's gonna happen the rest of the 11 months out of the year?
That's true. You can be a shit for the rest of the 11 months.
Right.
Really good in December.
Unlike Grila, who, right? Can't she tell all year long?
I think
so. She can do it all year.
She knows what you did in February and December.
Exactly. But specifically during Christmas time is when she comes down from the mountains to search for her meal. Or sends her sons. So it is still like specifically around Christmas time that she wants to go hunt for the children and devour her favorite snack. And her favorite dish is a stew of naughty kids, and she has an insatiable appetite.
What do you think she seasons the stew with?
Tony's Cajun spice.
Tony's Cajun spice.
I love Tony's so much.
She seems like a Trader Joe's person to me. Like she'd go in and get like those special Trader Joe's seasonings. Like she'd be like, everything but the bagel. I think that's gonna be delicious.
Right. She just opens her cabinet, goes down the Trader Joe's spices she has. Let's go with this one today.
So I had read a little thing about because being lore that I guess originally like this was even more dark, that like her and the kids were like out in the wilderness and like were hungry, and so they cooked and ate dad. And that's how
technically she's on her third husband.
So they got a taste for human meat and decided
Right. So the family was just normal, like before that, and then after they ate Dad, or the first Dad, that's when like she transformed into this like ogre beast, and the kids became what they became.
Interesting.
Which is kind of interesting since our next episode is about Wendigos.
Right.
It's true. Yeah.
So is she a Wendigo?
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, if she turned into a monster after eating human flesh, then
well,
that's pretty dang close.
It's funny too because the stakes are so like much lower in
The stakes.
America.
I was like, steak? What?
Steak? Did you say steak? Like if you're a naughty kid or if you're bad here, it's like, oh well, you might get a lump of coal in your stocking, and over in Europe, it's like, no, this witch from the mountains is going to come down and take you away and cook you in a stew and eat you. Like that's so much more gnarly to grow up with versus.
Yeah, why don't we tell kids that anymore?
I don't know. Like, I feel like it's just so watered down
I promise I will talk about a little bit about that shortly. But
good.
I think it's interesting because I think we get the watered down versions of these, like kind of what you're saying, Marisa, because we have you can get. I remember being told I could get coal and switches, and so when you think about switches are like connected somewhat to Krampus because Krampus has switches that he smacks kids with. So I mean, if you think about down the line, obviously these folklore tales have been like just I think they all kind of connect. They're all very similar. It's all about being naughty or nice and like being a good kid and da da da. So it is kind of funny because it would be interesting to know what the OG one was. Like, what is the original Christmas time folklore, I guess, because I feel like it would probably be hard to track down exactly what it is. I mean, obviously you can say that just the concept of some sort of supernatural being that is judging what you do is kind of connected to like what God is or gods and goddesses and blah, that all kind of comes down from that. But specifically around Christmas time in this season, we have that connection. So it would be interesting, I guess, to see, and maybe there is a definitive one, and I just don't know it because I didn't do the research on that, but be interesting to see which one is like the originator of that concept of like, oh, well, if you're naughty or nice, you're going to get in trouble or whatever, or specifically around December. Like,
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think from what I read, there is no Santa Claus in Iceland. They just don't even participate in that at all. Like
in
this
Santa?
This is what they have. Yeah,
I mean, and as I'm going to talk about it more, this becomes a much more fun concept later, Grila and the Yule Lads. So I do think that they have definitely tamed them down. But first we got to talk about Grila, who's got the insatiable appetite for naughty kids. So, and also, according to legends, there was never a shortage of food for Grila, meaning there was always a ton of bad kids in Iceland. I don't know why there was so many bad kids in Iceland, but
aren't there just always bad kids everywhere?
Yeah,
that's true. I think kids are just shits, so it's like no matter what, you're gonna find some bad ones. So another part of the family, before we get to the Yule Lads, we're going to talk about the family's black cat named Christmas Cat. And Christmas Cat only ate people once a year, or only ate once per year. He waited until he could watch children unwrap their gifts at Christmas, and then he would eat anyone who didn't receive a piece of clothing, which is an interesting concept. I do think that this is somewhat, I couldn't find
so
like
specific.
I couldn't find specific information on that this is like the definitive tie into hanging a stocking up. But I assume there is a connection to like, because if you have a stocking every year and you get a stocking every year, then you're always safe from Christmas. Yeah.
It's like
so,
giving Dobby a sock.
Exactly. So you're safe from the Christmas cat if you have your stocking hung and you receive that as a gift. Which is
I
kind of
have to make an argument for Christmas Cat or Yule Cat because Yule Cat is doing basically a social service, because apparently back then everybody needed to help with wool production because it's cold and people need clothes, and to get through the winter. So the whole lore that I read about for the cat originally was to promote the whole society to participate and finish up clothes and give them as gifts for winter, which I thought was kind of a fun way of them using a story to get everybody to work, essentially.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, basically this entire story is to scare you into doing multiple things every year.
Yeah.
That's true.
Being good, making clothing, whatever it might be. They just want to scare you so that you do the things they want you to do. So by 1746, Icelandic youngsters were so terrified of being eaten that they would not leave their homes.
Amazing.
So the government actually stepped in and put a ban on using Grila and her, whole story as an intimidation tactic. Which I think is pretty funny. The government had to step in to be like, parents,
you gotta stop.
Your kids are so bad.
I love it.
That they will not even leave.
It's actually amazing that it got to that point that the government had to be like, all right, roll it back a little bit, guys. This is bad.
It's a little too effective.
Trauma.
Yeah. So after the ogress and her brood cleaned up their images, Grila decided to send her sons into town only 13 days before Christmas. And they were instructed to spread holiday joy rather than fear. So this is where we take a huge turn in the Grila story. So, rewriting history here, I guess. For some reason, she still is an old hag-looking lady, though, no matter what.
So are the 13 real lads, do they suddenly become cute? Or are they still, they're terrifying looking? Because I imagine they weren't, I don't know.
They don't really say, I guess, what they specifically look like, but it says that they wear a red and white suit, which I feel very similar again to Santa Claus.
Yeah, they totally ripped that off from Santa Claus.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like all of this, like I said, it's just all so tied in together. So they wear a red and white suit, and the boys travel down from the mountains, and they place gifts in shoes that the children leave on their windowsills. And if a child of the house is good, they receive a small toy. But if they're bad, they get a rotten potato.
So this is where I remember the story, hearing about the story initially, because I was in first grade and we were celebrating Christmas, but we were looking at Christmas, how it's celebrated, holidays, how they were celebrated across the world. And I remember we were instructed to put our shoes outside and for the day or whatever, and then we went out to recess, and if we were good, we'd get candy in them, and if we were bad, we would get I don't know, I think maybe it was coal or maybe it was a potato, I don't remember, but we came back from recess and a lot of us had candy in our shoes except for one or two kids, which is hilarious to think back on. But that was the first time I remember being people do this for Christmas.
See, we do the
shoe
thing for St. Nicholas Day.
Yeah, I remember doing the shoe thing. Yeah,
and for St. Nicholas, which I think that's a Turkey thing.
Yeah,
Turkey, the country, because that's where St. Nicholas technically would be from.
Right. Yeah, because St. Nicholas and Krampus go together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so again, it's just so funny to me how tied everything is, because it's why in the heck are we putting gifts in shoes? And the fact that everyone, so many people have reasons for putting gifts in shoes. Because then, depending on the country, there's other countries that specifically say you have to put out a wooden clog. Because I personally, a lot of my family is Norwegian and Swedish. And so we always, my dad has wooden clogs. And that used to be something that we would do for Christmas too, is we'd have these wooden clogs out that we'd get stuff in as well. And we'd always get an ornament in our shoe, but
that's cool.
That's cute.
I mean, it's just funny, that there's so many ties into this same concept. And then, I mean, I think that's turned now into stockings. And again, yeah, so it's just all so tied together. Christmas is weird, y'all.
It very much is.
Like when you think about it, it's so weird. But definitely rotten potatoes are way better than being eaten. So, kids aren't as scared as the Yule lads as they maybe once were. But the Yule lads still sometimes get to be a little trickster. They still get to do some funny prank stuff. So even though they put the rotten potato in your shoe, they may also cause some sort of madness in your life if you were being a bad, naughty kid. And so they each have specific names that go with what they would what prank or whatever silly thing they would do to you if you were being a bad kid. So most of them are pretty gross and just like weird things to do. So I'm just gonna go ahead and list each of these because I think they're hilarious and so weird, and I just think it's wonderful to hear what they do. So there is Sheepcoat Claude, and he just harasses sheep. But he is impaired a bit by his stiff peg legs. So
why does he harass sheep?
Because that's his thing.
Yeah, but
I
thought
his name is Sheepcoat Claude. That's why. I mean, that's literally the only reason. I'm not going to try to say their Icelandic names because that would. I basically feel like it's the same thing as when I try to say stuff at IKEA. So I just am not even going to try. But second, we have Gullygawk, and Gullygawk hides in gullies. You know gullies, right? Everyone knows what a gully is.
I've seen Fern Gully.
I was just gonna say
I was just thinking about Fern Gully.
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
Fern Gully's great.
Oh, so good.
It is great.
It's like a ravine created by running water.
Okay. So yeah, it's just like basically a
ditch,
a
small
natural valley. It's like a natural ditch. But I mean, yeah, I feel like a ditch is a good word for it. So they're just waiting for an opportunity to sneak into the cow shed and steal milk. These are all just so funny. So then we have Stubby, who is abnormally short, and he steals pans to eat the crust left on them. Spoon Licker, who steals and licks wooden spoons and is extremely thin due to the fact that he is malnourished because all he's eating is little things left on spoons. Pot Scraper steals leftovers from pots. There's a running theme here of just stealing food. Bowl Licker hides under beds waiting for someone to put down their askur. I don't know. I'm assuming that's how you say it. It's a specific type of bowl that's used, that has a lid that was used instead of like dishes that we know, but it's a specific type of bowl that they would use. And then he would steal that bowl. Door Slammer likes to slam doors.
Honestly, that's a dick move.
Yeah. Especially during the night so that he could wake you up from your sleep.
Rude.
Then we've got Skyr Gobbler, and this is a Yule lad with a great affinity for skyr, which is like basically yogurt. I don't know if you guys ever go. I specifically get the Icelandic yogurt from Aldi. It's really delicious.
I actually do as well. So yeah, I have had it.
Yeah, it's a good one. So yeah, that there's always those commercials for some guy that has like Icelandic yogurt, and they're the most intense commercials ever. I
don't think I've ever seen it.
I want to look it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's one that's like SKIGGIS or something.
Yeah,
I think I might have butchered that. Yeah,
it's delicious.
Sigis. Yeah,
Sigis.
That.
And he's always like, Sigis yogurt is like,
it's very serious.
But yeah, anyways, so that is Skyr yogurt. Then we have Sausage Swiper, and you guessed it.
I can't help but giggle every time.
Your sausages. Oh my gosh. Specifically the sausages that are being smoked. So he likes smoked sausages. Then we got Window Peeper, and this is a snoop who looks through windows in search of things to steal.
Man.
So I guess he can just steal anything.
He just takes it all.
Yeah. Doorway Sniffer, who has an abnormally large nose and an acute sense of smell, which he uses to locate leaf bread. Which leaf bread is the really thin bread that like is cut out in fun shapes, and it's like this fried bread basically. And so, yeah, it's an Icelandic specific bread. And then we have Meat Hook, who uses a hook to steal your meat.
That one sounds scary.
I know, that one actually does sound scary.
Yeah, that's the only one, so I think that, like, creeps me out.
Yeah. I mean, he is the scariest sounding one for sure. So then, to finish off the 13, we've got Candlestealer, who follows children in order to steal their candles.
Oh my gosh, that would be me. I'm lighting so many candles lately.
I have too. I just bought a bunch.
I know. Yeah, I bought a bunch at World Market the other day. It's a problem. But yeah, and the candles used to be made out of tallow, which was edible. So that's again, he could eat the candles. So that's why he stole them.
I just imagine him grabbing him and putting him in his mouth immediately while the flame's still lit.
Yeah, that'd be so good.
Just to freak the children out.
Yeah, just to be like, hey, you want to get scared? Watch this flame.
See, I'm just picturing it very cartoony though, and then he like eats it, and then a little puff of smoke comes out of his mouth, and he like burps,
and then he runs away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I posted a picture in our little chat about it, and they are very adorable in the picture. So they definitely have made them much cuter now, and they kind of have like a Santa, like an elf vibe, I guess you could say. Like they kind of look like little elves.
In our Slack group, I posted one of like that I've seen of the Yule lads that look more like Snow White's, like the Seven Dwarves.
Yeah.
Some of them look scarier than others, but
yeah, but still. Oh yeah, and then Grila, she just always be looking so scary.
Grila just looks scary. And then there's Stubby up at the top. He's just like all joyful and.
So I could probably Google it, but do you guys think there was some inspiration here for the hag and the dwarves? Because it is really like creepily similar.
Yeah.
Oh, that is true. I didn't think about that.
It's very, very eerie, like how similar some of them are. Like in, like Sleepy, Doc, Dopey, like their names even like explain how they are. Yeah. That's interesting. You should look that up really quick. Let's look it up.
I'm looking it up in Wikipedia has an article, but it says it's the Grimm's fairy tale, right? So
yeah. It
that was first published in 1812 and is numbered as tale 53. So I don't know, because when did this Grila tale start, in the 1600s? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I would be shocked if it's not connected. I don't know.
Somehow,
that is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything immediately off. I just Googled Snow, Grimm, Grila.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
When I saw that picture, I was like, and that was what the image I keep seeing in my head is totally the hag of the witch, but that's kind of cool.
That's funny, yeah. I feel like like I said, I'd be shocked if there wasn't some sort of connection to that, so. But last but not least, I guess, well, actually least, let's be real, because he's kind of the most boring part of the story, but Lepaldi, I believe is Lepaldi. I'm guessing on the name pronunciation. But he is the husband of Grila. And he's really not that evil. He's just lazy. Most of what they talk about is just that he's lazy and that he lays around, he doesn't do anything, he doesn't help. So that's why Grila has to send all of her sons out. Her 13 sons are from multiple husbands, so she is her third husband. And so, but for some reason, he specifically gets named in the story, even though he is the third husband. The other two husbands aren't mentioned as much.
He's lasted the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe they got married shortly before the government told everyone to chill out on Grila. So she had to be nicer. So she just decided to keep him around.
Yeah, because she just had 2 kids with the first husband she ate. But when she was still human, so this has progressed quickly.
Maybe Stubby is one of the good ones, so that's why he's so cute. He's like from the first husband. And they start to get creepier as she becomes a monster lady. It's like Meat Hook is definitely the last one. He's like the most messed up.
I like this line in Wikipedia. It just says, Grila supposedly has dozens of children with her previous husbands, but they are rarely mentioned nowadays.
Her previous husbands, who cares about them?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, fair. You know, you don't want to talk about your ex-husband all the time.
Yeah. Forget him.
Forget about it.
I'm just kind of sad that I didn't know about this sooner because it's just a really cool story, and I love folklore. But like I'm also like a crazy cat lady, and so I'm completely putting Yule Cat or Christmas Cat into like my annual Christmas celebrations.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun because you can easily reuse your Halloween decor now.
Yes.
If you have any black cats, you can just put a red bow on him and he's a Christmas decoration now too.
Yeah, put a little hat on him.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. Festive.
Yeah. I also figured out how much I love Iceland during all this, because apparently they're cat-centric. And did you guys know they banned dogs in 1924?
What?
Okay, but I
love
dogs.
Yeah. What?
Okay, cats rule, dogs drool. But it's not enforced anymore. They were having like a tapeworm problem or something, and then in the 80s they allowed dogs again, but they are like heavily restricted.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Very interesting things that I find out, but Yule Cat is the bomb.
I mean, Yule Cat's cool.
Great. So Andrea sent us all a quiz, and we went ahead and decided to find out which Yule lad we each were. Mm-hmm. We'll make sure to share this on our socials too, so that you can all find out what Yule lad you are.
I like
it's very important to know.
The website is just icelandnaturally.com.
I know. I mean, we all just need to know what type of food we're stealing, because that's basically what it comes down to. Yeah. So
that's true.
How are you stealing food? I personally was a pot scraper. So I specifically wait until you leave your pot with leftovers, and I go and eat the leftovers out of your pots. So I don't know. I will say that I give my husband crap all the time because he never eats leftovers, and I always eat all the leftovers. So I will say that part is fairly accurate, I guess, because I am definitely the only one of the two of us that's eating the leftovers. So
sure,
we've got that going for me.
I think mine was pretty accurate too. Yeah, I got bowl liquor. And apparently bowl liquor comes into town on December 17th specifically, and eats from wooden bowls that were kept under the bed or on the floor. But I also like that it gives you like a little personality quip at the end of it. So it tells me I'm very resourceful and can be counted on to always find a practical use for everything, which is pretty true.
I also got bowl liquor, so we're in this together.
Yep.
Although I just took it again, and I must have clicked something different because I got door slammer.
Oh, so you're door slammer.
Ooh. He always makes a lot of noise when he walks around, slamming doors and causing a ruckus. The townspeople hardly get any rest when he's around.
It's like my upstairs neighbor.
Literally, I was about to say that, Marisa. I'm not even kidding. My upstairs neighbor is like, I don't understand what's happening because our apartments are tight. And I'm like, how do you walk around that much?
Yes.
Like, I just don't even walk that much. Oh my god.
I know.
Right. I will say, though, this doesn't sound like me at all. Just like Doy Slammer, you're naturally boisterous and a lively person. Sometimes you can't help it if you make a little extra noise. It's just the way you are.
I got
relate.
I mean, I feel like you're a lively person. You're just not like annoyingly.
Yeah.
Like,
thanks. That's
you're
good
a fun
to know.
person to chat with.
Okay,
you know?
I'll take it. Thank you. Boisterous doesn't seem.
Yeah, boisterous is like, I don't don't think it's a negative word though necessarily.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, Pot Scraper says that I'm a patient person who's willing to work hard for what I want. And I put in the time and effort because the end results are worth it.
Aww.
I kind of disagree with that because usually leftovers are not that worth it, but like...
That's true. Almost always they are.
If it's chili, like the only thing that I think is good as leftovers is like soups and chilies and stuff because the longer those sit around, the better they are. But
although I do always love a good like Thanksgiving leftover, but only for a day, a day or two.
But then like get out of here if they're leftover fries. I don't even want to see you.
Yeah.
See, you guys are like I'm like, I just want the cold piece of pizza out of the fridge. That's the leftover I want. I don't even want to heat it up.
That's how I am too.
That's fair. I just forget to eat leftovers.
Yeah, that's Blair, man. That's he never eats leftovers. So Marisa, what are you?
I got Gollygawk. He's the one that hides in the gullies and then sneaks into the cowshed and the barn to slurp the foam off of the milk in the buckets.
So gross.
Yeah, it's like really gross. And he'll just like steal buckets of milk.
I will say though, Gollygawk I think is my favorite name.
It's a fun name, but like
it's fun to say.
That shit's gross.
So it's just the foam? You're not like actually drinking the rest of the milk?
No, he like takes the milk. He'll like slurp it and then like take it and run off with the buckets, I think. The buckets of milk. Yeah. From what I understand.
I'm staring at this image of bowl liquor and I can't stop looking at it.
Oh my god, what is it?
I don't know, it's just his tongue and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
That's like that picture I sent in our Slack thread. There's one of Spoon Liquor and he's got like an abnormally long tongue.
Oh my god.
I was just trying to see because I have the sense of humor of like a 12-year-old boy, like the sausage stealer. Like it would have been so much better if he was eating a sausage. Because then I could be.
Yeah, he's just kind of like. I do like his pose though. His like little.
He's being very like stealthy ninja sausage stealer.
Which, like, Stubby has to be the nicest of them all, though, right?
I mean, yeah, he doesn't really do anything bad. He's just short.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, like,
he steals the crust. Is that what one thing says?
Oh, yeah. It's like, whatever.
Yeah, he steals the pants.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I guess that's kind of bad. But he definitely seems like the nicest one.
The doorway sniffer is probably oddly quiet. He just, like, leans into doorways and sniffs. It's weird. It's weird.
No, I kind of like the crust. Do you guys like crust?
Yes.
I do too.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it depends on what it's on, though.
I like pie crust. I'm into crusts.
Yes.
Yeah. Pie crust, pizza crust, bread crust.
All of the crusts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the above. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a shorter episode just because it's kind of silly. We're just having some Christmas fun.
Yeah.
Some holiday cheer. But before we start wrapping up, I do want to talk about some pop culture references that Grila has been in. Mm-hmm. She hasn't been in a ton, but she's actually been in some recent ones, which I think is kind of interesting. So, the TV show, the Netflix series, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, had an episode called A Midwinter's Tale, and it was like a special that came out just around Christmas time.
I remember that very well. We baked cookies.
Yes. Actually, Kaleigh and I had a witchy Christmas get together, and we made goat cookies. Like we had a cookie cutter that had goats and like pentagrams, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, we got together with a bunch of sweet ladies and made spooky Christmas cookies, and
it's fun.
Yes,
watched the episode. It was fun.
Pretty great. Yeah, and so in this particular episode, Grila is a huge part of the story itself and is a big character. And she also kind of shows up with the Yule lads. They're not, obviously they don't,
I think
they're more
invisible.
like children.
Yeah,
they're like ghost children basically.
Yeah.
So they definitely twist the story. It's not like the same thing by any means, and they don't do any of the things like the bull licking and the.
But weren't they like tearing up the house though, if I remember right?
I think
Yeah, they were
so.
tearing up the house, so they definitely were like mischievous.
Yeah.
So they still had that going for them. But Grila comes in and she has these children that follow her, and she actually does like help one of Sabrina's friends in the episode, so she's not like totally evil.
And she's also attractive, right? Like they made her kind of hot.
Yeah. She looks a
definitely way
little
more
spooky, but she's By spooky, I
she's
mean
got,
she
like,
has bags under her eyes, and she's
got like wavy gray hair and like I mean, she looks cool. So that is the Grila reference from Sabrina, which if you are a Coven member and you haven't watched Sabrina, I highly recommend watching it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's good.
It really is, yeah. Plus all the horror movie references in it are on point. I'll never forget when I saw the Suspiria reference in the first season. I immediately was like,
or whatever.
Yeah. She's like, they're meeting in like the little sitting area or whatever, and it's the ceiling from Suspiria. Yeah. I was watching alone at my house, and I was like, I have no one to share this with. I want to shout about how cool it is.
Yeah. It is really fun. So the other reference that I found about connected to this story is that apparently the Yule Cat makes an appearance in the 2020 Netflix movie, The Christmas Chronicles 2.
As somebody who's watched it, it has. It does.
I'm so excited because the first one I loved so much, and I haven't watched 2 yet, so I'm super stoked. I don't want to hear. I keep hearing that, but I love everything, even terrible things.
Honestly,
so
it's worth watching it just for Kurt Russell as Hot Santa Claus.
Heck yeah!
Yeah,
I love Kurt.
So
Russell.
what does the Yule Cat do in the movie, Kaleigh?
So he essentially, there's a villain, and he has this Yule Cat do his bidding for him. So it's actually really sad because he attacks the reindeer and almost critically wounds Dasher. It's terrible.
I guess cats are very questionable on their, they can just scratch your eye out or be nice to you in the same day.
But he's like a huge cat. He's basically, a mountain lion or bigger than that. So he's.
I haven't even seen it yet, but in the cat's defense, the reindeer probably had those stupid little jingly bells around its neck. And come on.
I don't want to spoil anything for you, Andrea.
Yeah, like if I'm a cat and I see if I'm a cat and I see a reindeer with like the jingly bells around its neck, I'm gonna like swat at it with my claws.
Let's just say Belschnickel, the elf, had something to do with it.
Okay, so I'll watch that very soon.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of funny that like the 2 main references that I could find are so recent.
Yeah.
Considering how old the story is, but I do think that there is we are recently starting to be fascinated, I think, with some of these scarier Christmas folklore, because I mean, Krampus was originally, we talking about Krampus, who I think has become so popular in the last few years. Like people like really talk about Krampus, and because I never heard about Krampus as a kid. I didn't really know that much about the concept of Krampus until I don't know, when I was an adult. But I just think it's fun that like that's become kind of this. I don't know, what does that say about our culture that we're obsessed with dark, macabre?
But also it's like
Christmas stories, but
that's also the culture of my friend. I have a friend who grew up didn't grow up there necessarily. He was born there and lived in Germany for a little while when he was a kid, and he always talks about German Christmas and how cool it was to him because they would have these like outdoor markets and people would dress up as Krampus and like with their switches and chase people down for jaywalking. Basically, it was just part of their lore.
Yeah, and there's lots of pictures of Grila, like these big
they're really cool.
Like parade like versions of Grila that are these basically like puppets that are like mastered by a bunch of people. And so clearly, they have that fun. They still have a lot of fun with the character of Grila in Iceland. And it's still a huge part of what they do over there with the Yule lads and Grila and everything. I love that it's starting to become even more part of our popular culture.
I agree.
as well. So it's interesting to learn more about it.
And I did want to add a little something, and it's like for pop culture, is the singer Bjork. Has a recording from 1987 of the poem "The Christmas Cat," and if you go on YouTube, you can find a lot of the straight renditions of it. I didn't find anything that was subtitled, but I did find one that has the poem written while the song is playing in the background. But I'm kind of obsessed because it's great.
I was trying to look it up. First of all, I was going to listen to it before and we ran out of time, but a really silly ad came up that's called like Meowie Catmas Poem. I don't think it's the Yule Cat they're talking about.
Meowie Catmas. I'm going to start saying that now.
Meowie Catmas. So I think that's pretty much it with Grila. I had a blast looking up some info about Grila and who she was and what she was all about. She seems like a pretty cool lady to me. I mean, she just wants to get rid of naughty kids. I don't know.
My favorite thing is
we could probably get rid of some naughty kids.
That's probably true. But my favorite thing is that the government somehow the government said not to use Grila, so it was like she took a turn. And I just imagine her sitting down with the Yule lads being like, okay, we need to tone it down a little bit.
The kids won't even
she was just performing a community service. Leave the lady alone.
Yeah, no, I totally support Grila. It was the parents' fault.
Yes.
You should have just let it happen.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if you didn't raise naughty kids, then she wouldn't have to be eating them.
Exactly.
So.
And now she's just hungry. What is she eating now?
That's
milk,
a good point.
foam, and tallow
the stuff
candles.
the kids are stealing.
Seriously, this
She's not allowed.
Got a lot of leftovers.
Right, she's exiled, so she can't go into town. So, like, she's got to send the babies in to go steal stuff for her to eat.
Spoon licker just brings back a spoon, and she's like, "You already licked this."
I guess maybe that's which one steals the bowls? Bowl licker.
Bowl licker.
You steal. So maybe there's enough left in the bowl for her afterwards.
Yeah, the meat hook one was he's like dragging home full like. But I'm wondering, so with meat hook, is the meat like already like carved and out, or is he like just taking it from wherever?
I don't know if we know.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like already cooked in the pictures that I see. Like usually,
so down the fireplace, like it's roasting, and he just like nabs it.
Same with sausage swiper.
Yeah, he specifically like smoked sausage.
Just smoked sausages. Yeah.
It's like in the Grinch when he steals the roast beast.
And yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she's eating.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah, I'm sure she's fine. Okay. I'm sure she's good. I mean, she's still around. What? How old is she? I mean,
1600s? Yeah, she's been.
Should we discuss a lady's age?
That's fair enough, I guess. But yeah, so that is the chilling adventures of Grila. What an
chilling adventures of Grila. Spin-off show.
Yeah, there we go. So, ladies, as we always do, let us go ahead and talk about what has us spellbound this week. So, Marisa, why don't you go first? What has you spellbound?
This is kind of relevant to the topic. I've been watching screeners for the end of the year awards season, and there's this film called Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always.
Ooh.
It's written and directed by Eliza Hittman, and it's really good. It's a drama. It's about a teen girl who's faced with an unintended pregnancy, and her cousin take a bus to New York City to try and get an abortion. And the film is basically like that, like her journey to get an abortion and everything that happens throughout that process. So like Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, the title comes from like one of the healthcare workers asking her about like, abuse, like, did your partner hit you? Never. Answer with Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, all these different things. And it's a very, very like intricate look at like her process of trying to get rid of her pregnancy, but I don't know, it's such an amazing film. It's actually really, really, really fucking good in its simplicity and it's like honesty and characters. It's fantastic. It's one of my favorite films of the year, actually.
Awesome. Sounds
yeah,
really
I
good.
actually remember seeing a trailer for that a long time ago. So, and I remember it looking pretty good. So I look forward to watching that.
Yeah, I think that's, it was initially released in Germany. I think the director is actually, well, no, she's American, but, yeah, I think it took a while to like come out or something, but it's definitely worth watching. It's like a very honest and raw, film. I think it's great. So good. So that's what I've been writing a little bit about it lately.
Do you know if it's been picked up for distribution yet, or is it just still shopping around?
I think Focus Features is who picked it up, and I think it actually is going to be airing on HBO soon.
It looks like you can watch it on HBO Max right now.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, you can watch it now? Cool.
According to, I haven't clicked to see if it actually works, but yeah, I just Googled the movie and it says watch now on HBO Max.
Yeah, it's really great.
Speaking of HBO Max, I know I've talked about this to you ladies already, but I am obsessed with the documentary Murder on Middle Beach on HBO Max.
I literally just watched the first episode before we recorded this. So.
Dude,
it's so good.
I mean, it's only 4 episodes, so I had like a day off and I ended up just watching the whole thing because it's so entrancing, and it's really interesting because if you don't know anything about it, the filmmaker, director, he did the whole thing. His name's Madison Hamburg, and he's following the murder of his mother. She was murdered when he was 18, and he essentially, I believe it started as a project, as like a final for his school when he was in film school. He's interviewing his family about her murder and who did it and maybe what could have happened. And of course, nothing is as simple as it seems upon watching it. I actually started rewatching it again with my boyfriend because I watched it alone initially and was like, I'll rewatch it. So highly recommend it if you get a chance to watch it. Again, it's only 4 episodes, so it's like 4 hours.
Yeah, I watched it all in one night. It was so good. I loved it.
It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And it's so well, there's so many things about it that are good. The story's intriguing. It's really well directed. And just the fact that he's trying to investigate the murder of his own mother adds this whole other level of insanity to it.
Yeah, it's like the vulnerability is really gnarly.
Absolutely.
Wild.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead and go. My recommendation is actually going to be a video game. So I just recently started playing Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Ooh.
And I'm really digging it. It's kind of a Breath of the Wild clone somewhat. But instead of being in the Zelda universe, it's in the universe of like Greek gods. And so the narrators are actually Zeus and Prometheus. It's very funny though, like it's very comedic. But you are a character called Phoenix who basically is trying to save the world from a Titan that's been released, kind of similar to the Hercules story where like the Titans they get out and they're trying to destroy the gods. And so you have to help stop that. And so it's an open world game where you just get to travel around and do what you want, kind of, while going through your quest. And it's really pretty. I love Breath of the Wild. It's like one of my favorite games of all time. So I'm always looking for something similar.
Yeah.
And so this is a great one. It's super fun. And it has that fun like Greek god story tied into it, which I think is interesting. So it's on like basically everything, I think. So you can play it on pretty much any system. So I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
Very cool. Mine is kind of tied into the episode, and I didn't even realize it until tonight. Back in 2013, Joe Hill came out with the book Nosferatu, which is NOS4A2. And then it became a show on AMC that went 2 seasons. And I saved season 2 because I wanted to watch it this time of year. And don't at me, because I know a lot of people don't like the show, but I like both. The book is amazing and the show is its own thing, and I love it too. But basically, you've got this character, Charlie Manx, who is saving children and taking them to Christmas Town. And that's all I'm going to get into with that. But a very good holiday read, especially for people who are into the darker side of Christmas.
Nosferatu is a holiday book?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it's all about Christmas Town or Christmas Land.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's very, very... It's not like your traditional, like, centered on Christmas, like the holiday of Christmas story. But there's this place, it's a twisted Christmas village that he takes these children. And so there's like the, I guess, good guy that's going after him. Like the whole thing doesn't take place on the Christmas holiday, but this is the place in the fictional place in the book where the kids go. So very, very good holiday read and watch, I would suggest. I would definitely read it before I watched it, though.
I've had that on my to-read list forever. I've only read one Joe Hill book.
Yeah, I go back and forth on Joe Hill. Like sometimes I really like the things he writes, and sometimes I just can't get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I like Lock and Key. I haven't read it all, though.
Yeah, I like Lock and Key too, but
that show is actually really fun too.
Agreed. Yeah.
I haven't watched the show.
The show is actually pretty good. Like I went in blind and was like, this is like such a fun fantasy little TV show. I liked it. It was pretty dark, but at times, but it's also like kid friendly in a way too. I don't know.
Well, and I guess it's
like
pertinent since we've talked about Stephen King before this. Joe Hill is Stephen King's kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you won't read his dad's work. But you'll read
I'm gonna.
Andrea.
It's gonna happen. I'm gonna read Salem's Lot.
You know what else is a good Christmas book? The Shining. It takes place in winter.
Okay, very true.
You know, it's funny.
Or
Marisa,
Misery.
That reminds me, last year somebody asked me, like, you like movies. What are movies you always watch around the holiday season? It's like, I have a feeling you won't want to watch the movies I always watch.
Right?
She's like, just tell me. And I was like, well, I always watch The Thing, and I always watch The Shining. And she's just like, those aren't holiday movies.
It's whatever you want to make it.
Well, they're my holiday movies.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, and I do watch, like I said earlier, Anne on the Apocalypse and Better Watch Out.
Mm-hmm.
Those are great. Black Christmas, great.
I mean, yeah, those are also obviously like very not typical holiday movies either.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, and that's it. Although I do
they're
think,
super
like,
fun though.
I do think Anna and the Apocalypse could be more of a family-friendly, like horror.
Yeah,
Christmas
yeah, it's a
movie.
fun one.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, well, it's like Gremlins. Like Gremlins is a technically
Definitely, and I think Anna and the
a
Apocalypse
horror,
is
I mean,
PG-13. I don't think it's.
yeah.
Oh no, it's
yeah,
R.
I don't think it's R.
Is
It's
it?
R.
Oh, it is?
I'm wrong. Wow.
Just
Wow.
because of the gore.
Language, probably.
Oh, language? I was
Yeah.
thinking the gore. But,
I don't
yeah.
feel like it was that gory, but maybe
It
I'm
doesn't take
desensitized.
much for them.
I know. I
to-
think we're all desensitized somewhat.
That's true. That's fair.
So,
So don't.
but yeah,
recommend it.
I love creepy Christmas movies. I was talking about that the other day. I just like it. It's such a good, like snowy, wintry Christmas movies. There's not enough of them.
There's
I mean,
really
sorry,
not.
snowy, wintry horror movies is what I meant to say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's not enough of them. I want more winter horror.
And I always watch
so it's such a
Krampus.
good time.
Krampus is always such
Yeah.
a fun movie to watch.
Mhm.
It is a fun one.
Yeah,
I met
Krampus
David
is so great.
David Koechner came into town, into KC to do like a stand-up a few years back. I think it was the year Krampus came out, so 2015, I think. And I brought a little Krampus Christmas card for him to sign
Aw.
because I had just watched the movie and I was so excited that because we were showing it at Armor and it was when I worked at the theater, and he was so stoked that somebody there, he's like, yes, I'm so excited somebody watched it and enjoyed it, because he clearly had such a good time being a part of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
It still holds up really well.
Well,
I love that.
It does. It does.
So, of course, we ask you to join us next time when we will be talking about the Wendigo. And interact with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Black Magic Coven. Be sure to use the hashtag Black Magic Coven. If you like what you hear, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on Anchor FM, Spotify, Apple iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts. So thank you guys. I hope that you have a Merry Yuletide, a Happy Hanukkah, a Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate.
Or don't celebrate.
Or don't celebrate. Yeah. But, hopefully you get some time off work, maybe? I don't know. Enjoy your Christmassy, or not Christmassy, I'm going to say wintry. Enjoy your wintry season. Mm-hmm. And this concludes the Gathering of the Black Magic Coven.
You're listening to a Downright Creepy original on the Crickets Podcast Network.